I never meant for anything to happen. That's the truth. But when you've had this slow burn for someone for years, when you've tried every way to ignore it, bury it, move past it, and then they tell you they're leaving tomorrow, it's like something inside you snaps. That's what happened the night before Tyler left. Tyler's been my brother Ryan's best friend since they were 12. That made him a constant in our house. Weekend sleepovers, summer barbecues, late-night gaming marathons. I was the little brother who hovered on the edges, too young to be part of their world but always watching. Especially watching him. I don't know when it shifted, when the admiration turned into something more. But by the time I hit 16, I knew. I wasn't just looking at Tyler the way a kid looks up to an older guy. I was noticing things. The curve of his neck, the way his voice dropped when he was serious, the little smirk he gave when he was teasing Ryan. It was attraction. Real, full-on, heart-thudding, stomach-tightening attraction. Which made things complicated, because Tyler was off-limits in every possible way. He was Ryan's best friend. He was straight. Or at least, he'd never said otherwise. And he treated me like a kid brother. A nuisance. A tag-along. Only that changed too. Slowly, over the past year, he started looking at me differently. Just small things. A longer glance. A too long pause after we'd laugh at the same joke. Once, at a bonfire, he handed me a beer, and his fingers lingered on mine. Not for long, but enough that I couldn't stop thinking about it for days. Still, I did nothing. I told myself it was nothing, because Tyler was leaving for LA soon, moving to chase his design job, his future, his big life, and I was just a detour, a curiosity at best. So when Ryan threw him a small going-away thing at our house, just a few people, beers, music, I figured I'd keep my distance, make it easy, say goodbye, wish him luck, and let it end there. I didn't expect Tyler to find me outside. Hours later, after everyone else had gone home, I was sitting on the back steps, hoodie pulled over my head, picking at the label on my bottle of beer, staring out into the dark yard. The porch light buzzed overhead, casting everything in this soft amber glow. "Didn't even say goodbye," he said behind me. I turned. Tyler was standing in the doorway, shirt untucked, barefoot, holding a nearly empty bottle of Modelo. "Didn't know you noticed I was gone," I said, trying to play it cool. He walked over and sat beside me. Close. Too close. "Of course I noticed," he said, then nudged his shoulder against mine. "You've been MIA all night," I shrugged. Just figured it wasn't really my scene. He sipped his beer, eyes on the yard. "You're quiet tonight," he said after a while. "Just thinking." "'Bout what?" "Tomorrow," I said, and immediately regretted it. But he didn't laugh, didn't tease. Instead he said, "Yeah, me too." We sat there for a minute. The air felt heavy, not uncomfortable, just thick with something unsaid. I was hyper-aware of the warmth of his thigh pressed against mine, the way his shoulder brushed mine every time he shifted. And then, like he couldn't hold it in anymore, he said quietly, "You know I almost didn't take the job?" That caught me off guard. "What? Why?" He hesitated, then looked over at me. And there it was again, that look. Not friendly, not brotherly, something else, something that made my skin buzz. "I don't know," he said. Guess part of me wondered what I'd be leaving behind. My heart started thudding so hard I was sure he could hear it. "You mean Ryan?" I asked stupidly. He huffed a laugh. "No, I mean, yeah, him too. But not just him." I didn't know what to say. I just stared at him, heart hammering in my chest. He looked back at me, and the air between us shifted. We weren't two guys on a porch anymore. We weren't a kid and his older brother's best friend. We were just two people on the edge of something neither of us had dared say out loud. And then he asked me, his voice barely above a whisper. "Can I tell you something before I go?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. He leaned in closer, eyes locked on mine. "I've been trying not to think about you like this for a long time," he said. And just like that, my whole world tilted. I stared at him. My brain scrambled for something to say, but nothing came out. I couldn't even move. It was like my whole body had shut down, trying to process what he'd just said. Tyler. My brother's best friend. The guy I'd spent years quietly crushing on. He'd just admitted what exactly? That he thought about me? He looked down, like maybe he regretted saying it. I probably shouldn't have said that. I swallowed hard. No, I mean... My voice cracked. I cleared it. "I'm glad you did." That got his attention. He looked up, our eyes locking again, and for a second, neither of us said anything. Just sat there, with the night air thick between us and the hum of the porch light buzzing like a warning. Finally, he said, "I've always liked being around you, even when you were just Ryan's annoying little brother." He smiled softly. "But you're not a kid anymore." I blinked. "You noticed that?" He let out a low laugh. "Yeah, I noticed." It was surreal. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I'd spent years convincing myself Tyler didn't see me that way, that he couldn't. But here he was, sitting inches from me, his knee pressed against mine, telling me everything I never let myself hope for. "So why now?" I asked quietly. "Why tonight?" He hesitated. Then, "Because I'm leaving tomorrow, and if I didn't say it, I'd regret it. I figured it's safer to be honest on my way out than carry this with me, wondering what if." I nodded slowly, absorbing every word. "So this is like your last night confessional?" "Something like that," he said, grinning. I looked down at my hands. My fingers were trembling just slightly. I wasn't sure if it was nerves or adrenaline. Maybe both. "What happens if I say I've thought about you too?" I asked, not looking up. He didn't answer right away. I could feel his eyes on me, the heat of his attention. Then he reached out slowly, like he wasn't sure I'd let him, and placed his hand over mine. His touch was warm, solid. I'd say, maybe this night doesn't have to be goodbye. My breath caught. It wasn't moving fast, wasn't pushing, just waiting, offering something, letting me decide. I turned my hand over, laced my fingers through his, and looked at him. "Then, let's not waste it." Tyler looked at me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, carefully, like he wasn't sure if he was dreaming this, he leaned in. Our lips met softly, cautiously at first. No rush, just a question. And I answered. I leaned in closer, kissed him back, and felt the moment deepen. It wasn't some fiery, movie scene kiss. It was quiet, intimate. The kind of kiss you only give someone you've thought about for a long, long time. When we finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine and exhaled. "I've wanted to do that for so damn long." I laughed, shaky and breathless. "You had me thinking you were totally straight this whole time." His lips quirked. "I thought I was, until I realized I couldn't stop thinking about you." Silence stretched out between us again. But it was different now. Electric. Expectant. I tugged at his hand. "Come inside." He looked at me. "You sure?" "Yeah," I said. "I don't want to waste tonight." He stood up, still holding my hand, and followed me through the kitchen, up the stairs, and into the quiet of my bedroom. And for the first time, it wasn't about secrecy or fantasy. It was real. What happened next? I'd never forget. The door clicked shut behind us. For a second, we just stood there, him in the middle of my room, me near the door, both of us caught between the weight of everything that had just happened, and whatever this was becoming. The room was dark except for the soft glow of the hallway light slipping in through the crack beneath the door. It painted a warm strip across the carpet, across Tyler's shoes, across the space between us that now felt smaller than ever. I stepped closer. He didn't move away. There was something surreal about having him here, like this. In this room where I used to lay awake, thinking about him just a few feet down the hall, where I daydreamed and rehearsed conversations that never happened. And now he was standing here, like none of that had been imaginary at all. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah. You?" He smiled softly. "A little nervous, if I'm being honest. That surprised me. You don't seem like the nervous type." "Not usually," he said, stepping toward me. "But I've never done this before. Not with a guy." I searched his face. "Is this something you've thought about? Or is it just tonight?" His eyes stayed on mine. "It's not just tonight. I don't think I have a label for it. But whatever this is, with you, it feels right. That's all I know." My heart felt like it was trying to climb up into my throat. I gave him a small smile, then took another step closer. We were inches apart now. "You want to lie down?" I asked, voice quieter. He nodded, and we moved without really speaking, him kicking off his shoes, me pulling off my hoodie and tossing it to the side. I slipped into the bed first, flipping the blanket back for him. It was strange, how easy it felt. How normal. He climbed in next to me, lying on his side, facing me. The space between us was warm and buzzing with tension. He looked nervous still, like he didn't know what came next, like he wanted me to guide this. So I did. I reached out, brushing my fingertips along his jaw, the stubble under my hand soft and real. He leaned into the touch, eyes fluttering closed for a moment. "I used to wonder what this would feel like," I whispered. His eyes opened. "What does it feel like now?" I smiled. "Like I'm still dreaming." He leaned in again, and this time the kiss was deeper, hungrier. I rolled closer, pulling him into me, and his hand found my waist like he'd done it 100 times before. We didn't rush anything. It wasn't about closeness, not right away. It was about the connection, about exploring this thing that had sat unspoken between us for years. His hand moved slowly under my shirt, warm against my skin, fingers tentative but curious. I let out a soft breath, then pulled my shirt off, tossing it aside. He followed, his shirt hitting the floor a second later. Seeing him like that, in the dim light, skin against skin, it made my head spin. This wasn't some fantasy anymore. This was happening. He was here. With me. "I've thought about this," he said softly, like he needed me to know. More than I should have. I reached down, took his hand in mine, and placed it over my heart. Me too. We stayed like that for a long time, touching, kissing, letting it build slowly, naturally, like it had been waiting for this night all along. And when we finally gave into it, it wasn't rushed or clumsy. It was right. After, we lay tangled in my sheets, our legs brushing, our breathing sinking back into rhythm. I stared at the ceiling, unable to stop smiling. He turned to me, resting his hand on my chest. "I don't want this to be just a goodbye." I turned my head toward him. "Then don't let it be." He gave me a look, hopeful but guarded. "You'd really want more than just this one night?" I nodded. "I don't care how far you go, Tyler. I've wanted this too long to pretend it doesn't matter." He leaned over, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "Okay." I don't know how long we laid there, but I do know it was the calmest I'd felt in years. Tyler was warm beside me, his fingers tracing lazy lines over my chest like he didn't want to stop touching me, not even for a second, and I didn't want him to. I didn't want to move. I didn't want the night to end, but it had to eventually. "What time's your flight again?" I asked, voice low. He sighed, like I'd reminded him of something he was trying to forget. 10 a.m.? He nodded. I looked over at the glowing red numbers on my nightstand clock. 3:42. "Shit," I whispered. He laughed under his breath. "Yeah, I should probably leave soon." I hated the way that sounded. Leave. The word hit like a dull punch in my gut. "Can you stay a little longer?" I asked, before I could stop myself. Tyler looked at me. Not like I was pathetic or clingy. Just soft. Understanding. Of course. So we didn't move. He tucked closer into me, our bodies pressed from shoulder to knee, and we just existed there for a while. Quiet. Peaceful. Then he spoke. "What are we going to tell Ryan?" I blinked. I hadn't even thought that far ahead. "What can we tell him?" I asked. "I mean, it's not like he'll be thrilled," Tyler groaned, flopping onto his back. "He'll kill me." "He won't kill you." "He might," Tyler said, but he was smiling now. I sat up a little, propped on one elbow. "Do you want to tell him?" He thought for a second, then shrugged. "Eventually. I don't want to sneak around. If we're serious, I mean." I nodded slowly. "We can be." He looked over at me again, eyes searching. "You sure? I don't want this to be some one-night thing either," I said. "If you're willing to try long distance, so am I." He smiled. Not the teasing, cocky grin I was used to. Something softer. Something that said he wasn't used to being wanted this openly. "I really like you," he said. I felt my face flush, but I didn't look away. "Good. 'Cause I've liked you since I was 16. That got a laugh. "Damn, that long?" "Yeah," I said, grinning. "You were always walking around shirtless, okay? It was cruel." He rolled onto his side and kissed me again. Slow and sweet and unhurried. The kind of kiss that said, "We're not done yet." And I knew we weren't. Tyler ended up leaving just after 5. I walked him out to his car barefoot, my hoodie thrown on over bare skin, hair a mess, heart full. He dropped his overnight bag in the back seat, then turned to me. "I guess this is it," he said. "For now." I corrected. "We'll text, FaceTime, whatever." He nodded. "Yeah." Then, without hesitation, he leaned in and kissed me again, right there in the driveway, where anyone could have seen us. But it didn't matter. He kissed me like we had time, even though we didn't. When he pulled away, he rested his forehead against mine. "I'm really gonna miss you." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Same." He got in, started the engine, and rolled down the window. "I'll text you when I land, okay? Promise?" "Promise!" And then he was gone. Taillights fading down the street. Silence settling back over the neighborhood. I stood there long after he disappeared. Still barefoot. Still buzzing. Still trying to wrap my head around everything that had just happened. It didn't feel like an ending. It felt like the start of something real. Something worth waiting for. It had only been 3 days. 3 days since Tyler left. Since we kissed in my bed. Since he drove off with the windows down and a promise hanging in the air between us. And already, everything felt different. Not in a bad way. Just heavier. More aware. Like every part of my life had shifted a few inches to the left. And I hadn't quite figured out how to walk straight in it yet. We'd been texting constantly. Updates from the airport. A picture of his new apartment with half-unpacked boxes. A video of his broken coffee maker that made him swear off mornings entirely. I had sent him photos of our dog, of my coffee, of my face when I realized I missed him after like 14 hours. We weren't trying to be cool. We weren't playing it chill. I liked that. But what I didn't like, what I couldn't stop obsessing over, was Ryan. He still didn't know. And every time I sat across from him at dinner or passed him in the hall, it felt like I was carrying this massive, glowing secret. Not just that something happened between us, but that something real happened. Something I wasn't sure I could hide much longer. That Friday night, he cornered me in the kitchen. "Hey," he said casually, pulling open the fridge. "You've been weird lately." I blinked. "Weird how?" He grabbed a soda, shut the door, leaned against the counter. "I don't know. You're smiling at your phone a lot. You keep zoning out. Like you're in some rom-com." I tried not to visibly panic. "Maybe I'm just in a good mood." Ryan narrowed his eyes. "Is it a guy?" There it was. I swallowed. "Why would you ask that?" "Because I've known you forever, dude, and you look like someone who's just been kissed." I stared at him. He stared back, and then I said it. "Yeah, It's a guy. Ryan's brows shot up, but he didn't look angry, just surprised. Whoa, okay, who? I hesitated. He leaned forward. Wait, is it someone I know? Ryan. His eyes narrowed. Is it someone I know? I sighed and rubbed my forehead. Please don't freak out. Oh my God, he muttered. Then louder. Who is it? I looked up at him, and I saw it click in his face before I said a word. No, I didn't answer. His jaw dropped. Tyler? Tyler? I winced. Can you not yell? He threw his hands up. Are you serious right now? My best friend? Ryan, I didn't plan it, okay? It just happened. Just happened? He echoed, pacing the kitchen now. Dude, he was like a brother to us. I sighed. He's not my brother, Ryan. That's not the point. He stopped pacing, staring at me. How long has this been going on? One night, I said quickly. One night before he left. That's it. But we're still talking. A lot. Ryan ran a hand through his hair, groaning. I swear to God, if he hurt you. He didn't. He looked at me again, really looked, and something in his expression changed. You like him, he said, more softly this time. Yeah, I admitted. I really do. Ryan let out a long breath, then sank into a kitchen chair. He stayed quiet for a moment, then muttered, Well, this is going to be weird at my wedding. I choked on a laugh. You're not even engaged. Exactly. Now I gotta think about seating charts. I smiled. So, you're not mad? He shrugged. I'm surprised. But you're my brother. If he makes you happy, I'll deal. And just like that, a weight lifted off my chest. The first time I saw him again, it wasn't planned. Tyler had only been gone 2 weeks. We talked every day, FaceTime at night, texts during the day. It wasn't constant, but it was consistent. Like he was still here somehow, just in a different time zone, living a slightly bigger life. I was still adjusting to it, missing him at random moments. When I heard something funny and wanted to lean over and tell him. When I made a dumb joke Ryan didn't laugh at, but Tyler would have. When I walked past his old beat-up car in our driveway and had to remind myself it wasn't his anymore. So when he showed up on a random Thursday afternoon, I thought I was hallucinating. I'd just come home from class, tossed my backpack down, and walked into the kitchen. And there he was. Tyler, in the flesh, leaning against the counter like he hadn't been 3,000 miles away the last 14 days. I froze. What the hell are you doing here? I asked, too stunned to move. He smiled. Nice to see you too. I dropped my keys. You said your next visit wouldn't be for a month. I lied. I blinked. Why? He shrugged, walking toward me. Because I missed you. And because Ryan told me he knows. And that he didn't kill you. So I figured maybe I'd survive too. My heart jumped. You talked to him? Tyler nodded. He called me. Said he figured it out. Said you looked like you were trying not to float away. I laughed. Yeah, that sounds about right. Anyway, Tyler said, stopping in front of me. I booked a last-minute flight. Took a few days off. I wanted to see you. My stomach flipped. You just showed up? I couldn't wait anymore. He leaned in and kissed me, right there in the middle of the kitchen. No hesitation, no checking the windows, no tiptoeing. Just kissed me like he belonged to me and had been away too long. When he pulled back, I was grinning like an idiot. You're insane, I said. He nodded. Completely. And I'm really glad you're here. I'm not staying at Ryan's, by the way, he added. Booked a little place outside of town. Figured we could actually be alone this time. I raised an eyebrow. You trying to make up for lost time? He leaned in, lips brushing my ear. A little. And suddenly, the kitchen was very warm. A few hours later, we were tangled in a borrowed Airbnb bed, limbs sprawled. laughter still in the air. It wasn't just about the chillin'. Sure, that part was amazing. But it was the way he looked at me afterward, like I was something worth flying across the country for. Like I wasn't just a good memory or a beautiful mistake. I was real. I was his. We lay there, the afternoon light drifting in through the half-drawn curtains. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice quiet. "Dangerous." I teased. He smiled. "I know I just got out there, but I'm thinking of moving back." I sat up. "Wait, what?" "Not right away. Maybe next year. I love the job, but I hate the distance more." "Tyler, are you serious?" He nodded. "I want to build something here. With you. For real." I couldn't speak for a second. Then I kissed him. Hard. When I pulled back, breathless, I said, "Then let's do it." And just like that, the night we thought would be a one-time thing turned into something bigger than either of us expected. A year later, we stood in a new apartment, 2 mugs of coffee in hand, boxes still scattered around the living room. Tyler had moved back, not in some dramatic, romantic rush, but in a slow, thoughtful way. He finished the year at his job in LA, took a few trips home, met my parents properly, and asked me, flat out, if I wanted to live with him. He didn't want to waste any more time. Neither did I, so we got a place together halfway between both our jobs. Not in the city, not in the suburbs, just somewhere that felt like ours. "Feels weird," he said that morning, sipping his coffee. "Unpacking in a place that doesn't have your brother's childhood trophies staring at me." I smirked. "Yeah, those were a vibe." He leaned against the kitchen counter. "He's coming over later, by the way, to help with the couch." I raised an eyebrow. "Still speaking to you?" Tyler grinned. "Barely, but he likes you enough to tolerate me." I walked over and wrapped my arms around his waist, letting my cheek rest against his shoulder. "He'll get over it. Eventually." Tyler kissed the top of my head. "Even if he doesn't, this was worth it." I closed my eyes and breathed him in. After all the buildup, the secrecy, the doubts, and the distance, this was where we landed. Not with some perfect, tied-up-in-a-bow moment, but with 2 mugs, 2 keys on the same hook, and 1 bed we shared every night. A year ago, I didn't think we'd ever have this. I thought we'd burn bright and fast and disappear into memory, but Tyler stayed, and I stayed. And what happened that one night, his last night in town, didn't stay in the past. It turned into something real,